Assistant Professor, Department of BCE. I am going to teach Introduction to Communication. First of all, what is communication? Establishing connection. Why we are establishing connection? For transferring information from one point to another point. That is from source to destination. For that communication, there are two types. One is analog communication, and the one is digital communication. In analog communication, the information is in the form of analog signals. That is continuous signals. Like this. Here, the input also analog. That is the information signal also analog, and the carrier also analog. Like this, in digital communication, here the input signal is digital. If you are giving the input signal in the analog form, means first we convert that analog into digital form, and then transmission of information takes place. Then general communication block diagram. Here first we are giving input signal. That is example voice, message, videos, pictures, like that. That is given to the input transducer. That input transducer converts one form of signal to another form. Here, for example, the voice signal get converted into electrical signal. It is easy for transforming. Then that transducer output is given to the transmitter. Here, the transmitter transmit the signals to the channel. Here, in the transmitter, modulation takes place. Modulation means the mixing of signals. We are mixing, that is modulating the input signal to the carrier signal. Why we are going for modulation means for transferring the signal for long distance. Then from channel, the signal is received from the receiver, and the output transducer converts the modulated signal into original form. Then we finally get the output signal. Here in channel, there is a possibility for noise during the transmission. Then types of communication channel. First one is wired or line communication. Another one is wireless communication. Wired means we are using physical mediums. That is wire, fiber optic cable, coaxial cable, like that. We are using one medium to transfer information from one place to another place. That is wired channel. Another one, wireless channel. Wireless channel means through air, through space. The information transfer from one place to another place through space. That is in the form of electromagnetic waves or radio waves. Example, TV broadcasting, satellite communication, radio broadcasting, like that. Then modulation. What is modulation? Here modulation means mixing of two signals. Here we are going to modulate the low frequency input signal with the high frequency carrier signal. I already told why we are going for modulation means for transferring the signal for long distance. Here this is the modulation block diagram. Modulation is the process of changing, varying the characteristics of carrier signal with respect to the input signal, according to the input signals. Here this is the block diagram of modulation. Here that is the information source. That is the information we are giving as input. That is given to the modulator. Another one input to the modulator is carrier signal. That is the high frequency signal. This is the signal used to carry the information from transmitter to receiver for long distance. Then this modulator mixes the low frequency input signal and the high frequency carrier signal. This high frequency carrier signal get varied according to the input signal amplitude, and then modulation takes place. It transmits the modulated signal. The modulation takes place at the transmitter side, and then receiver receives the modulated signal. Here in the receiver side, the demodulation takes place. Here the input to the demodulator is the modulated signal. Then the demodulator extract the original signal from the modulated signal, and we get the original signal as output. That is the information source. Then classification of modulation. First, the modulation majorly classified into two types. One is analog modulation, another one is digital modulation. Analog modulation means the input signal and carrier signal is also analog. Then this analog modulation subdivided into two types: continuous modulation, another one is pulse analog modulation. Here analog means the input signal is in the form of analog. Here continuous means both the carrier and the input signal is analog. This continuous get divided into amplitude modulation and angle modulation. Here amplitude modulation means, I already told, modulation means the carrier's frequency get changed according to the input. Here amplitude means the amplitude modulation means the amplitude of the carrier signal get varied according to the given input information. And another one type is angle modulation. The angle modulation is the combination of both frequency modulation and phase modulation. In frequency, FM means frequency modulation. In frequency modulation, the frequency of the carrier signal get varied according amplitude of the information signal. Here the phase modulation is like that. The carrier signal phase get varied according to the amplitude of the input signal. Then another type, digital modulation. Here information transfer in the form of digital, that is zeros and ones. Here there are 4 types. First one is pulse digital modulation, another one is ASK, FSK, PSK. ASK is nothing but amplitude shift keying. Here also the amplitude get varied. Here the frequency shift keying means the frequency of the signal get varied, and the phase shift keying means the phase of the signal get varied. Then the pulse modulation means, here the types of pulse modulations are pulse code modulation, delta modulation, adaptive delta modulation, then digital pulse code modulation. Here we are using pulse signal as a carrier. Here for ASK, FSK, PSK, the input signal is pulse and the carrier is analog. That's the difference between pulse digital modulation and the ASK